Ah! Ooh! The fucking tooth! Remember, I gotta go for more surgery and take care of other parts of my tooth. So I'm like, I'm fine. I'm in PAIN now as I speak to you. But you know, I'm a tough motherfucker. I can take pain. You know, you can take tooth pain. You can handle any pain. Trust me. And this has been an issue my entire life. I got nice teeth, beautiful teeth. But trust me when I tell you that I've paid a price for it, both in money and in fucking emotional pain. You know? When you drink and smoke and drug like I do, you gotta take care of your teeth. Because those are the first things to go when you drug. It's your teeth. And I'm too cute to lose my teeth. So I spend a fortune on them. And I pay the price for it. Enough about that. Okay? I'm marshalling through the pain. And I'm going to do the moon in Gemini in a woman's chart for men only. But of course, you women can watch and hear and see. You know? So, without further ado, we're going to jump right in. I'm drinking a very strong cranberry martini, partially to deal with the pain of my tooth. Because, you know, I don't take painkillers. When you drink and smoke and drug like I do, you can't take painkillers. It's dangerous for the heart. It's dangerous. And I go to a lot of anesthesia when I have surgery. And that can be dangerous, you know. So, you know, I'm not stupid. So I handle the pain and drink a lot of water and flush and drink teas and do and black seed oil and coconut oil and oregano oil. Oh my God. Oh my God. That shit will save your life, will take you from the brink of cancer. And elderberry tea. My women, my ladies that I have that protect me and give me all these herbs and teas to help me. And that's why I drink every day, drug every day, but yet I still look very healthy and optimum. You know, it ain't like, there's a secret to the madness, okay? And because I carry spirit beings or archons, I got no choice. Because trust me, if you spoke to spirits and demons and angels all day long, you'd be fucking drinking and drugging yourself. Okay, so without further ado, we're gonna go and jump right in and talk about the moon in Gemini as it pertains to the human female. And I feel a little mellow because the tooth pain does that to you. And I drink and I wash the tooth in pain. It's not nerve pain. It's dental pain. It's not nerve pain, but it'll get there because tooth pain never goes away. It goes away like tricking you, and when it comes back with a vengeance, and it's dangerous. I don't sleep on tooth anomalies. Okay, but I have so much alcohol in my system that I cannot go to the dentist and get an anesthesia for the surgery. I have to flush my system. You know, yeah, I'm that moon in Aries. I live on the edge. You know, um, but that's the only place in my psyche where I feel most alive. In that brink. Now, but I'm talking about that, coincidentally, the moon in Gemini, especially in a woman's chart, she is Ernest Hemingway, Amelia Earhart, Harriet Tubman. The moon in Gemini represents the archetype of the phenomenal woman. You ever heard the poem Phenomenal Woman? And there have been certain songs that have been written called Phenomenal Woman. But if you know anything about African and African American anthropology, Phenomenal Woman was a poem that was written embodying what a phenomenal woman is. You need to read that poem, Phenomenal Woman. That explains and part excellently exalts the moon in Gemini. For a phenomenal woman can do it all. And that's the moon in Gemini in a woman's chart. So, without further ado, let's jump right in and talk about the moon in Gemini in a woman's chart. First and foremost, understand that the moon in Gemini or the moon in Gemini woman has the ability to be charming, quick-witted, as well as moody and irritable, all in one wrap. Think of it. I think of a sandwich wrap, right? Like a chicken wrap. Well, the Gemini woman is like, or the Gemini moon in a woman's chart is like having a gyro or a chicken wrap. You got your tomatoes, your greens, your onion, garlic, the chicken sauce, all in a nice chicken wrap, right? Well, everything is contained. When you take a bite of that chicken wrap, you get a starburst of different flavors. From the top of the palate to the middle of the palate to the back of the palate to the sides of the palate. Because we got 5 sensory palates in our mouth and tongue with distinguished different gradients of taste. The moon in Gemini can be analogous to the taste buds of a human being. And human beings don't understand that we have 5 taste buds in our mouth. 3 in the tongue, 1 middle in the back, and then the sides. They're called the 5 taste buds, modeled after the 5 senses, the 5 fingers and 5 toes, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The number of man is which one? What did I say the number of man is? Number 5. Everything about us is 5. And the planet, the earth itself, is at a tilt, which gives us our seasons. And that tilt is 23.5. 2 and 3 is what? 5. 5.5. Everything about this planet and about this earth radiates number 5. And in the Kabbalah and in esoteric astrology, number 5 correlates to Mars, the god of war, Gabura, action on this plane, the world of action, which is the earthly Kabbalistic tree. No more do we see this variety as we do in the moon in Gemini as it pertains to a woman's chart. Now, a woman, let me tell you, to meet a woman with the moon in Gemini, oh my God. Oh my God. Really? I, the beauty of the mind, and not to mention that any woman, regardless of her astrological sign, having the moon in Gemini, will make her extremely beautiful. And this is a complete mystery. But it makes these women very beautiful, very sensual, and very coy and coquettish. More so than the moon in Cancer or in Taurus, which also exudes the feminine mystique. And we're going to talk more about the feminine mystique when we talk about the moon in Cancer. But understand that the moon in Gemini in a woman's chart tends to make her moody, changeable, irritable, and quixotic. She herself might not even know or understand or be in awareness psychologically as to what triggers it, what brings it on, or how she even affects other people. She becomes insulated in a bubble of her own reality and reacts to that reality within the context and frame of reference of her own reality that she has created. So she could live in a bubble within a bubble. There is a play, The Glass Menagerie, by Tennessee Williams, which won a Pulitzer. It's an example of Laura. If you remember Laura in The Glass Menagerie in the play by Tennessee Williams, she was isolated and she created an entire world within herself where it was completely self-contained and she didn't need anybody, not even a suitor. This is analogous of the moon in Gemini. Or let's say the planet Saturn with, the planet Saturn has, I think, over 50 moons. I think it has 62 moons or 52 moons. Jupiter has, I think, a little more. But the Saturn can be considered a miniature solar system. It has its moon. It has like a total system in and of itself. I mean, you gotta Google in cosmology the planet Saturn. It is like a solar system within a solar system. Totally self-sufficient, self-functioning, self-sustaining, self-preserving. Doesn't that sound like Capricorn? Mm. Interesting that the morphology of the planet and its moon symbolizes a perfection of self-sufficiency, which goes in keeping with the mythology of Capricorn as being self-sufficient and self-preserving and needing nobody and nothing to help it sustain itself. Yet, if we look at the planet Saturn, the moons and its system, if you look at it, it's like its own miniature solar system. As above, so below. So, we can say the same thing about the moon in Gemini when it comes to a woman. She can be referenced or compared to a miniature solar system that's self-sustaining, self-effacing, self-supporting, and self-preserving. With that kind of perfect insulated system, you would think that you don't need anybody. You don't need anything. You got it all covered. That is fundamentally true. But here's where it gets a little bit morphed when it comes to the moon in Gemini in a woman's chart. Is that the moon in Gemini woman hates to be alone. She hates to be alone. She hates to wake up to an empty bed or an empty apartment. The moon in Gemini provides an incessant need to communicate and to commune with your fellow human beings or even a plant, even a fucking dog in your immediate environment. Remember, Gemini rules the third house, the environment, the impulses of nature, and all of her beauty and glory and terror. So, that can be a plethora of sensory perceptions that can frighten or elevate the Gemini moon woman. When you have the moon in Gemini, you are open to all kinds of vibrations, to all kinds of sense impressions, both on this plane and on other octaves of other planes. You can be clairaudient and hear things that normal human beings don't hear. You can attune into certain vibrations that other average human being wouldn't even be aware that it exists. So the moon in Gemini woman is disturbed constantly with all kinds of sense impressions coming to her from her environment. Remember, Gemini represents the environment. So when you have an unstable body like the moon, in an unstable sign like Gemini, what are you gonna have? You're gonna have a person that remember those ping pong machines of the 80s. You know, when you play those machines. You know, I forgot what you call them now. But um, the moon in Gemini, when it comes to a woman's chart, can be so. It's like a tornado. It's like a tornado. An ever-ending tornado, and it could be an L1 or 2 or 3, or the most terrifying, which is an L4 or an L5, which of course it is a terror of nature. An L5 tornado is to destroy everything on our earth. A terrifying expression of the gods of air, which falls under Gemini. Mutable air. Air that is nice and beautiful. You can smell the flowers. And then all of a sudden, in that fucking minute, you have a system creating, and it's a tornado, and all of a sudden it went from a 1 to an L5, and now you see buildings, cows, animals, humans thrown all over the place, destruction, and now nature has gone loco in just 2 fucking 3 minutes, like it happens in Tornado Alley in the Midwest of the United States. So nature is terrifying, and we see this terrifying aspect of nature in the moon in Gemini when it comes to the human female. It helps the tooth. This is good because this lets you know that the moon in Gemini in a woman's chart is a restless position. It's a position where the women are constantly in their frenetic nerves. They're functioning on edge. These are the women that in the 1980s used to take Valium or sleeping pills or diet pills to stay up and be energetic so they can finish doing what they needed to do, because, to run a household and children and keep a husband good took a lot. More than 24 hours can give for a woman. Okay? So, if you have a woman that has a moon in Gemini, she might be perceived from the outside looking in to be a fucking hot mess. But she's not a hot mess. She's not. She's not a hot mess. It would be unfair to categorize her as a hot mess because she's not a fucking hot mess. It's just that this woman is so fascinatingly creative that she doesn't know which direction to go. Listen, shit, I can relate to that. I'm a creative person. And the beauty of my creativity is that I can never run out of ideas, and that's the basis of my plays, and my productions. And it's a beautiful thing. It's like the part of God in me. Gemini is the same way. And with that kind of self-knowledge, you get a sense that you are like almost invincible, invulnerable. That whatever you think, you can do. And Gemini is the sign of the mind, the intellect. And to have the moon here means that thoughts and ideas are going to take precedent in your life. And it's going to define the very existence of your nature. To be curious, inquisitive, reflective, and introspective is very, very ABCs when it comes to the moon in Gemini in a woman's chart. You don't see this dynamic in a man's chart with the moon in Gemini. He's not inquisitive that way. He might be postulating and pondering and pontificating, but he's not going to bring that to you, the Gemini man or the Gemini moon man. Whereas the Gemini moon woman or the Gemini moon in a woman's chart, she will be open to conversations and open to different stimuli of intellectual impulse that comes from other people reflecting other races and cultures that can add to the homogeneity of knowledge that might enrich her life in one way or another. So the woman, whether she's a housewife or top executive making seven figures, she's always going to have a curious mind, an inquisitive mind. And her modus of operandi is to try to decode the very fabric of life which controls and governs her and everything around her. Remember, the opposite polarity of Gemini is Sagittarius, right? The higher octave, the higher truths is Jupiter, Zeus, the king of the gods. So Gemini is on a vision quest, which the torch is held by Sagittarius, the opposite polarity in which Gemini is trying to escape from and obtain. Oh, Gemini wants to reach the chalice of Sagittarius. Sagittarius can bow down and bestow it onto Gemini, but then it will not be valued or appreciated because knowledge cannot be freely given. It has to be earned. And when you earn it, then you can appreciate it. If it's freely given to you, you won't value it and appreciate it. And that's true of anything in life, not just about knowledge, which is why I charge for my services. Otherwise, I won't be taken seriously for what I do. Right? So that applies with everything in life. Everything has value, even knowledge. And the moon in Gemini accents that principle. So if you value yourself, if you are worthy of what you feel you know and knowledge, then you gotta like parcel it into a package or into a brand. And if you're someone of business, you can make a lot of money of it and help a lot of people, provided that your morality is tempered with the consciousness of your will and ego moving into a good direction. Okay? Because then, if you're functioning that way, the universe will open the doors for you. The universe will not deny you. It will give you the desires of your heart. It says in the Bible, seek me and my glory, and I shall grant you the desires of your heart. It's in Genesis and it's in Leviticus. Okay? In the Bible. So God can give us what we want, our desires, our wants, and our needs, provided that we worship Him, the demiurge. But you can bring it to another level where you give love to the demiurge and love to yourself. Love is a universal healing that heals all and everything. With the moon in Gemini, in a woman's chart, she has the ability to connect and empathize with the pains and frails and weaknesses of humanity. Like the moon in Cancer, where we're heading. You know, the impulse which flourishes when the moon enters Cancer begins with the moon in Gemini. It is in the moon in Gemini where the Gemini seed begins to sprout. And it's when the moon reaches Cancer, then we can tell what kind of flower or species of plant has sprouted from the original Gemini seed of the moon in Gemini. And we are done with part one. Uh huh.